What if everything you've been told about personal transformation is not just wrong, but actually keeping you trapped in the same patterns, the same limitations, the same version of yourself that you're desperate to leave behind? In the next few minutes, I'm going to share something that might sound impossible at first, but by the end, you'll understand why the slow, gradual approach to change might actually be your greatest enemy, and why 30 days is not just enough time to reinvent yourself completely, but might be the perfect timeline for breakthrough transformation. Most people believe that real change takes years, that meaningful transformation is a slow, painstaking process that requires endless patience and gradual progress. They've been conditioned to think that reinventing yourself is some massive undertaking that demands perfect conditions, unlimited resources, and maybe a little bit of luck. But what if I told you that this belief system is precisely what's been keeping you stuck? The people who effortlessly reinvent themselves, who seem to transform overnight, who appear to have unlocked some secret formula for rapid personal evolution, they know something that the rest of us are missing. It's not what the self-help industry teaches, and it's definitely not what they tell you in those 1,000-page personal development books. They understand that transformation isn't about gradual change, it's about rapid identity shift, and 30 days isn't just enough time, it's actually the optimal time frame for complete reinvention. Have you noticed how the harder you try to change yourself, the more you seem to stay exactly the same? There's something happening beneath the surface that most of us miss because we're focused on trying to modify our behaviors, fix our habits, and improve our circumstances without ever addressing the core identity that's creating all of these external expressions. Let me paint a picture that might feel uncomfortably familiar. You wake up each morning with genuine intention to be different today. Maybe you're going to be more confident, more productive, more authentic, more focused. You set your alarm earlier, you plan your day carefully, you even feel that surge of motivation that tells you this time is going to be different. But by noon, you're already falling back into the same patterns. By evening, you're the same person you were yesterday, engaging in the same behaviors, having the same thoughts, experiencing the same limitations. You try harder the next day. You read another article, watch another video, maybe even invest in another course or program. You tell yourself you just need more willpower, more discipline, more motivation. But the pattern repeats. Weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and despite all your efforts, despite all your good intentions, despite all the information you've consumed, you're essentially the same person with the same challenges, the same limitations, the same unfulfilled potential. Here's what's really happening, and this might sting a little, but it's also liberating once you understand it. You're not failing because you lack willpower or discipline or motivation. You're not stuck because you haven't found the right strategy or technique or system. You're experiencing the same results because you're approaching transformation from a fundamentally flawed premise. Here's what's really happening, and this might sting a little, but it's also liberating once you understand it. You're not failing because you lack willpower or discipline or motivation. You're not stuck because you haven't found the right strategy or technique or system. You're experiencing the same results because you're approaching transformation from a fundamentally flawed premise. Most people try to change their life while remaining the same person. They want different results while maintaining the same identity. They want to transform their external reality while keeping their internal reality unchanged. It's like trying to change your reflection while refusing to move. The image in the mirror will always match the person standing in front of it. The deeper truth is that your current life is a perfect reflection of your current identity. Your relationships, your career, your health, your financial situation, your daily experiences, they're all matching the person you believe yourself to be at the deepest level. And until that core identity shifts, everything else is just surface-level rearranging. Think about it like this. Imagine a tree that's producing bitter fruit. Most people spend their time and energy trying to change the fruit, picking off the bitter ones, maybe even grafting on some sweet fruit from another tree. But the tree keeps producing the same bitter fruit because the root system, the very essence of the tree, remains unchanged. To get different fruit, you need to transform the tree at its root level. This is why gradual change often fails. When you try to slowly modify behaviors while maintaining the same core identity, you create internal conflict. Part of you is trying to change, while another part of you is working to maintain consistency with who you believe yourself to be. The identity always wins because it's operating at a much deeper level than willpower or conscious intention. But here's where it gets interesting, and here's where the magic of 30 days comes in. When you approach transformation as identity reinvention rather than behavior modification, when you focus on becoming a fundamentally different person rather than trying to improve the current version of yourself, everything changes. And when you commit to a concentrated, intensive period of reinvention, like 30 days, you create the perfect conditions for rapid, lasting transformation. Let me tell you about Sarah, a 34-year-old marketing manager who felt completely trapped in a life that looked successful from the outside but felt empty and unfulfilling on the inside. She had a decent job, a comfortable apartment, a small circle of friends, but she woke up every day feeling like she was living someone else's life. She had dreams of starting her own creative business, traveling the world, writing a book, but these dreams felt impossible, too risky, too far from who she currently was. Sarah had tried to change many times before. She'd attempted to start side projects that fizzled out after a few weeks. She joined networking groups but felt too shy to really connect. She'd started writing but convinced herself she wasn't good enough. Each failed attempt reinforced her belief that she wasn't the type of person who could live an extraordinary life. She was just Sarah, the quiet marketing manager, and that's who she would always be. Then something shifted. Instead of trying to gradually improve her current life, she made a radical decision. She decided to completely reinvent herself in 30 days. Not slowly, not cautiously, not by making tiny adjustments to her existing routine. She was going to become a completely different person, and she was going to do it fast. She didn't quit her job or make any dramatic external changes that first day. Instead, she did something much more powerful. She decided who she was going to become and started being that person immediately. She identified the woman she wanted to be: confident, creative, adventurous, authentic, successful. Then she asked herself a simple but profound question: how would this woman live today? The confident, creative, adventurous version of Sarah wouldn't spend her lunch break scrolling social media in the office cafeteria. She would go to that art gallery she'd been curious about. The successful, authentic version of Sarah wouldn't go home and watch Netflix every evening. She would work on her business plan, reach out to potential mentors, start building her network. But here's what made this different from all her previous attempts. She wasn't trying to force herself to do these things. She was simply being the person who naturally did these things. She had shifted her identity first, and the behaviors flowed naturally from that new sense of self. Day by day, this new version of Sarah became more real. She wasn't pretending or acting or trying to be someone she wasn't. She was discovering who she had always been beneath the layers of conditioning and limiting beliefs. The shy marketing manager had been a role she was playing, not who she really was. By day 15, people started noticing something different about her. She carried herself differently, spoke with more confidence, made bolder choices. By day 20, she had started her creative consulting business and landed her first client. By day 30, she had resigned from her marketing job, booked a trip to Europe, and finished the first chapter of her book. The most remarkable thing wasn't how much her external circumstances changed, though that was dramatic. The most remarkable thing was how natural it all felt. She wasn't straining or struggling or forcing change. She had simply become someone different, and that someone naturally created a different life. This reveals something profound about the nature of reinvention. It's not about gradually building new habits or slowly improving your circumstances. It's about recognizing that who you think you are right now is not fixed, permanent, or unchangeable. Your identity is fluid, adaptable, and completely within your control to redefine. Here's what transforms everything about personal reinvention. The version of yourself you want to become already exists within you right now. You're not trying to become someone new, you're uncovering who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning, fear, and limiting beliefs. Most people approach reinvention like construction, thinking they need to build a new self from scratch. But true transformation is more like archaeology, carefully removing everything that isn't authentically you until what remains is your most powerful, creative, authentic expression. While most people try to change their life and hope their identity will eventually catch up, true reinvention works in reverse. You transform your identity first, and your life naturally reorganizes around this new sense of self. It's not about forcing change, it's about becoming the person who naturally creates the life you want.
Think of it like tuning into a radio station. The signal for who you want to become is already broadcasting. You just need to adjust your frequency to receive it clearly. When you're tuned into the frequency of your most authentic self, the right opportunities, people, ideas, and circumstances naturally come into your experience. This is why 30 days is actually the perfect time frame. It's long enough to create real momentum and establish new neural pathways, but short enough to maintain the intensity and focus required for genuine transformation. It's like a focused immersion program for your identity. Most people sabotage their own transformation by thinking it should take longer. They believe that real change requires months or years, so they approach it casually, making half-hearted efforts that produce half-hearted results. But when you commit to complete reinvention in 30 days, you access a different level of focus, intensity, and commitment that accelerates the entire process. There's also something powerful about the urgency. When you know you only have 30 days, you can't afford to waste time on activities that don't align with who you're becoming. You naturally become more selective, more focused, more intentional with every choice. This creates a momentum that's almost impossible to achieve with longer time frames. The people who experience rapid transformation understand that change happens in moments, not years. In any given moment, you can decide to be different, and that decision can instantly shift your trajectory. 30 days is simply 30 opportunities to make that decision again and again until your new identity becomes your natural state of being. The foundation for 30-day reinvention rests on 4 interconnected principles that work together to create rapid, lasting transformation. These aren't steps to follow sequentially, but rather simultaneous shifts that compound each other's effectiveness. Identity clarity forms the first foundation. Before you can reinvent yourself, you need absolute clarity about who you're becoming. This isn't about setting goals or creating vision boards. It's about defining the core characteristics, values, and qualities of your new identity. Who is this person at their essence? How do they think, feel, and move through the world? What drives them, inspires them, fulfills them? Most people skip this step and jump straight into trying to change their behaviors or circumstances. But without clear identity definition, you're just randomly making changes without a coherent direction. It's like trying to paint a masterpiece without knowing what you want to create. Your new identity needs to be specific enough to guide daily decisions, but flexible enough to evolve as you grow into it. You're not creating a rigid character to perform, you're defining the authentic qualities you want to embody more fully. This might be the confident version of yourself, the creative version, the adventurous version, the peaceful version, or some unique combination that represents your highest potential. Immediate embodiment is the second foundation. Once you've defined your new identity, you start being that person immediately, not gradually. You don't wait until you feel ready, until you have more confidence, until your circumstances change. You start thinking, feeling, and acting as this person today, in this moment, with whatever resources and circumstances you currently have. This is where most people get stuck, because they believe they need to earn the right to be who they want to become. They think they need to prove themselves worthy of their new identity or wait until they've developed the necessary skills and qualities. But embodiment works in reverse. You become who you choose to be by choosing to be them now, and the skills, qualities, and circumstances develop as a natural result. The key is understanding that you're not pretending or faking it. You're accessing aspects of yourself that are already there but may have been dormant or suppressed. Every quality you admire in others exists within you in potential form. Embodiment is simply the process of activating that potential. Environmental alignment creates the third foundation. Your environment, both physical and social, either supports your new identity or undermines it. During your 30-day reinvention, you need to consciously design your environment to reinforce who you're becoming. This might mean rearranging your physical space to reflect your new identity, changing your daily routine to include activities that align with who you're becoming, or temporarily limiting contact with people who reinforce your old identity. It's not about permanently cutting people out of your life, but during this intensive transformation period, you need to minimize influences that pull you back into old patterns. Your environment should serve as a constant reminder and reinforcement of your new identity. If you're becoming someone who prioritizes health and vitality, your kitchen should reflect that choice. If you're becoming someone who values creativity and learning, your living space should inspire and support those activities. Momentum maintenance forms the fourth foundation. 30-day reinvention requires sustained momentum, and momentum is created through consistent daily actions that align with your new identity. But this isn't about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. It's about naturally expressing your new identity through your choices and behaviors. The key is starting each day by consciously connecting with your new identity and asking yourself, how would this person live today? Then allowing the answer to guide your choices throughout the day. Some days the answer might be bold and ambitious, other days it might be restful and reflective. The important thing is that your actions are flowing from your new sense of self rather than old patterns and conditioning. Momentum builds on itself. Each day that you successfully embody your new identity makes the next day easier and more natural. By week 2, behaviors that initially required conscious effort start becoming automatic. By week 3, your new identity begins to feel more natural than your old one. By week 4, you've essentially rewired your neural pathways to support your new way of being. Integration practice weaves through all 4 foundations. This involves regularly checking in with yourself throughout the day to notice when you're operating from your old identity versus your new one, and gently redirecting when necessary. It's not about perfection, it's about awareness and consistent course correction. You might find that certain situations or people trigger you back into old patterns. This is normal and expected. The practice is noticing this happening and consciously choosing to respond from your new identity instead. Over time, these conscious choices become unconscious habits, and your new identity becomes your default way of being. The beauty of this foundation system is that it's self-reinforcing. As you gain clarity about your new identity, embodiment becomes easier. As you embody your new identity more consistently, aligning your environment feels natural. As your environment supports your new way of being, maintaining momentum becomes effortless. And as momentum builds, everything integrates into a coherent new version of yourself. Days 1 through 7 focus on identity architecture. These initial days are about designing and beginning to embody your new identity. You start by writing a detailed description of who you're becoming, not as future goals, but as present reality. Who is this person right now? How do they think, feel, speak, move, dress, eat, work, relate to others? Spend significant time each morning during this first week connecting with this identity. You might meditate on it, visualize yourself as this person, or simply sit quietly and feel into what it's like to be them. The goal is to make this new identity feel real and accessible, not like some distant aspiration. Throughout each day, practice making decisions from this new identity. Before each choice, ask yourself, how would the person I'm becoming handle this situation? Start with small decisions, what to eat for breakfast, how to respond to emails, what to do during breaks, and let your new identity guide you. Days 8 through 14 enter the momentum building phase. By now, your new identity should feel somewhat familiar, and you're ready to take bolder actions that align with who you're becoming. This week is about creating visible changes in your life that reflect your internal transformation. If your new identity is more health-focused, this might be the week you completely revamp your diet and exercise routine. If you're becoming more creative, this might be when you start that project you've been thinking about. If you're becoming more social and confident, this might be when you start putting yourself in new social situations. The key during this phase is to act before you feel ready. Your old identity will try to convince you to wait, to be more cautious, to move more slowly. But your new identity is bold, decisive, and action-oriented. Trust the new voice and let it guide your choices. Days 15 through 21 represent the integration challenge. This is often when resistance peaks because your transformation is becoming real enough that your old identity feels threatened. You might experience self-doubt, fear, or the temptation to return to familiar patterns. This is actually a positive sign that real change is happening. Your psyche is reorganizing around your new identity, and some resistance is natural and expected. The practice during this week is to acknowledge the resistance without being controlled by it. Notice the thoughts and feelings that arise, but continue making choices from your new identity. This is also when other people might start noticing your changes and perhaps expressing confusion, concern, or even criticism. Remember that their reactions are about their comfort zones, not about whether your transformation is valid or healthy. Stay connected to your new identity and trust your inner guidance. Days 22 through 30 mark the mastery emergence phase. By this point, your new identity should feel more natural than forced. The behaviors and choices that initially required conscious effort are becoming automatic. You're not trying to be someone different, you simply are someone different. This final week is about fine-tuning and celebrating your transformation while setting the foundation for continued growth. You're not just completing a 30-day challenge, you're establishing a new baseline for who you are and how you live. Each day throughout all 4 phases includes specific practices that support your transformation. Begin every morning with identity connection time, even if it's just 5 minutes of quietly feeling into who you're becoming. End every evening with reflection time, acknowledging how you embodied your new identity that day and setting intentions for tomorrow. Keep a daily journal tracking your transformation, not just the external changes, but the internal shifts in how you think, feel, and perceive yourself and your possibilities. This creates a record of your growth and helps reinforce your new identity. Practice what I call identity interrupts throughout each day. Set random alarms or reminders that prompt you to pause and ask, am I operating from my old identity or my new one right now? This develops the awareness necessary for consistent transformation. Create daily opportunities to express your new identity in small but meaningful ways. If you're becoming more generous, find ways to give something each day. If you're becoming more creative, create something each day. If you're becoming more courageous, do something slightly brave each day. As you move through your 30-day reinvention, you'll discover that transformation happens in layers. The first layer is behavioral. You start doing different things. The second layer is emotional. You start feeling different about yourself and your possibilities. The third layer is cognitive. You start thinking differently about who you are and what's possible for your life. The deepest layer is identity integration. Your new way of being becomes so natural that you can't remember who you used to be. True reinvention requires working at all these layers simultaneously, not just trying to change your behaviors while leaving your emotional patterns, thought processes, and core identity unchanged. This is why most attempts at personal change fail. They work at the surface level while the deeper layers remain untouched. Emotional recalibration is crucial for lasting transformation. Your emotions are closely tied to your identity, and as you reinvent yourself, you need to develop emotional patterns that support your new way of being. If you're becoming more confident, you need to practice feeling confident regularly until it becomes your emotional default. If you're becoming more peaceful, you need to cultivate feelings of calm and centeredness even in challenging situations. This doesn't mean forcing positive emotions or denying negative ones. It means developing emotional intelligence around your new identity and learning to generate the emotional states that support who you're becoming. Someone who has reinvented themselves as confident doesn't never feel insecure. They simply don't let occasional insecurity define their identity or determine their actions. Cognitive restructuring involves identifying and transforming the thought patterns that maintained your old identity. Every identity is supported by a constellation of beliefs about yourself, other people, and how the world works. As you reinvent yourself, you need to consciously update these belief systems to align with your new identity. Old thoughts will continue to arise during your transformation. This is normal. The practice is noticing these thoughts and asking, does this thought belong to who I'm becoming or who I used to be? Then, consciously choosing thoughts that align with your new identity. Over time, your thinking patterns shift to support your transformation. Social identity evolution addresses how you relate to other people from your new identity. Relationships often need to be renegotiated during significant personal transformation because you're showing up differently in the world. Some relationships will deepen and improve as you become more authentic. Others might become strained if they were based on your old identity. The key is being patient with this process while staying true to your transformation. Don't abandon your growth to maintain relationships that require you to stay small or unchanged. At the same time, give people time to adjust to the new you before making permanent decisions about relationships. Purpose alignment ensures that your reinvention is connected to something meaningful and sustainable. Surface-level changes motivated by external pressures or temporary dissatisfaction rarely last. Deep transformation happens when your new identity is aligned with your core values and connected to a sense of purpose that inspires and motivates you. As you embody your new identity, pay attention to what feels most fulfilling and energizing. What activities, relationships, and expressions feel most aligned with who you're becoming? This information guides you toward a reinvention that's not just different, but also deeply satisfying and sustainable. Throughout your 30-day journey, you'll experience what I call breakthrough moments, sudden shifts in perception that accelerate your transformation and make your new identity feel undeniably real. These moments can't be forced, but you can create conditions that make them more likely to occur. Week 1 breakthrough often happens around day 5 or 6 when you first catch yourself naturally responding to a situation from your new identity without conscious effort. Maybe you speak up in a meeting with confidence you didn't know you had, or you make a creative choice that surprises you with its boldness. These moments prove that your new identity isn't just an idea you're trying on, it's becoming real. Week 2 breakthrough typically involves other people noticing and commenting on your changes. Someone might say you seem different, more confident, more vibrant, more focused. This external validation confirms that your internal transformation is creating visible changes in how you show up in the world. Week 3 breakthrough often comes through successfully navigating a challenging situation from your new identity that your old identity would have handled very differently. Maybe you have a difficult conversation with grace instead of avoiding it, or you take a risk that your old self would have considered too scary. These moments demonstrate that your new identity is robust enough to handle life's complexities. Week 4 breakthrough usually involves a moment of recognition that you can't easily access your old identity anymore. You try to imagine going back to your old way of being, and it feels foreign, uncomfortable, or simply uninteresting. This is when you know your transformation has reached a tipping point where your new identity has become your natural state.
These breakthrough moments serve multiple purposes. They provide evidence that your transformation is real and working. They create momentum and motivation to continue. They help integrate your new identity more deeply, and they often become turning points that accelerate your entire reinvention process. Not everyone experiences breakthroughs in this exact timeline, and that's perfectly normal. Some people have multiple breakthroughs early in their transformation, others have them clustered toward the end. The important thing is staying open to these moments and recognizing them when they occur. One of the biggest challenges with any transformation is maintaining your new identity beyond the initial 30-day period. The momentum and focus of intensive change can be exciting and motivating, but how do you ensure that your reinvention becomes a permanent shift rather than a temporary experiment? Identity anchoring is the practice of regularly reconnecting with your new identity to keep it active and alive. This might be through daily meditation, journaling, visualization, or simply taking time to feel into who you've become. Your new identity needs regular attention and connection to remain strong and stable. Continuous evolution recognizes that reinvention isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing process. The person you become in 30 days is not your final destination, but a new foundation for continued growth and development. Staying connected to this growth mindset prevents your new identity from becoming rigid or limited. Environmental maintenance involves continuing to shape your environment to support your new identity. As you grow and evolve, your environmental needs may change as well. Regularly assess whether your physical space, daily routines, and social connections are supporting or undermining who you're becoming. Challenge integration means using difficulties and setbacks as opportunities to strengthen your new identity rather than evidence that you're failing. Every challenge is a chance to practice being who you've become under pressure. These experiences don't threaten your transformation, they deepen it. The goal isn't to never struggle or face difficulties. The goal is to face life's challenges from your new identity rather than reverting to old patterns when things get tough. This is how temporary transformation becomes permanent evolution. As we reach the end of our exploration of 30-day reinvention, take a moment to feel into what's different about you just from engaging with these concepts. Notice any shifts in how you see yourself, your possibilities, or your relationship to change. This is evidence that transformation begins the moment you open to new ways of being. The path of reinvention isn't about becoming someone you're not, it's about becoming who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning, limitation, and fear. Your most authentic, powerful, creative self already exists within you. The 30-day process simply removes everything that's been obscuring that truth. Remember that you don't need permission to reinvent yourself. You don't need to wait for better circumstances, more confidence, or clearer direction. You have everything you need right now to begin becoming who you're meant to be. The only question is whether you're ready to step into that truth. Your transformation begins the moment you decide it does. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more prepared. Now, in this moment, with this breath, who are you choosing to become? The next 30 days of your life are happening whether you use them intentionally or not. You can spend them as the same person, having the same experiences, or you can use them to completely reinvent yourself into someone whose life excites and inspires you. The choice, as always, is yours, and the time, if you're ready, is now.